Hello y'all on YouTube, this is Rob with Rob's Nerdy Knives. Today I have a very special review impressions of a knife that I received in. It's going to be part of some of my giveaways, but it's a really cool knife that I'm super excited to share with you guys. This is a pyrite. It may look really familiar with you. It is a large pyrite. This is the pyrite in G10 scales with the steel liners, and it is with the ARRP M9 blade steel, the proprietary powdered steel from Artisan Cutlery. CJRB is a smaller subsidiary of Artisan Cutlery. They're the budget line, and this is a really cool knife. If you're familiar with the Pyrite, one of the great knives, it was my budget knife of the year. I also had one of those limited editions, and it was one of my knife of the years. I really liked it a lot. And so it was a fantastic, super fantastic knife. I think you would really enjoy. But this, if you've been waiting and you're saying, man, I just don't like the steel liners. It's not enough grip. I need something with a G10 in texture. I need the knife to be just a little bit bigger. Well, every one of those things have been answered. And you know, if you're looking at this and you go, man, I love the button lock, but man, I wish they had the warning. You know it's coming. So I chose this one because I think it's cool. And I do like the warning, but I like the thumb stud one too. They just know how to put those thumb studs in the right place. I think almost anybody, if you use this knife and you follow the side of the scale, anybody can deploy this knife, both, you know, straight thumb stud or reverse. I mean, it's almost like it guides you into doing this correctly. All right, so fantastic. So let's talk about the materials. We talked about the blade. It's the typical drop point. It's got the thumb studs. It has a deep pocket carry clip. This is all stone washed. You see that beautiful kind of finish, so it kind of hides blemishes and scratches. It's typical button lock. Still works really great. Engages well. Beautifully centered. Everything like that. So we got the standoffs here, the steel liners, and of course the steel liners have been nicely, cut out, so it's lightened for sure. It's not a captive pivot. It's got dual screws, so you may need two screwdrivers if you decide to take this apart. It does have cage ceramic ball bearings, so you'll be able to replace that. The action is wonderful. It drop shuts really nicely, and when it drop shuts, if you release it just right, it's not going to bounce out. Any button lock that you drop, and if you don't release the button lock, they will typically always bounce if you drop them hard enough, right? That's just what they do. But if you drop this and you let it go, it locks in there really nicely. Let's see that. See? Nice. Yeah, that's a plunge lock, locking it in place. So that's the materials. Nicely chamfered all the way around, so very comfortable on that G10. Works really well. I think this is going to be definitely a knife that would be worthwhile your time for the size and everything that you get for it. So, yeah. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the weight, the height, the measurements, and all the good stuff. So let's weigh this little guy. Oh, we're in grams. Let's get back to ounces. I don't know, it always resets. I don't know why it does that. All right, so we're at 3.75 ounces. 3.75 ounces. That's not bad. 3.75 ounces for steel liners and G10. Pretty good. All right, let's see. Let's get some measurements on this guy. As you can see, it's not a small knife. We are looking at a knife that is about 8 3/4 of an inch. That is almost a 9-inch knife. That's pretty big. The blade length, if you go from the tip to the handle, we're at about 3.75 inches. So handle to blade ratio, handle to blade to weight ratio is perfect, right? It's just about perfect. Now cutting length, if you're going by cutting length and not just a blade itself, we're about 3.5 inches. So it's not perfect if you're talking about cutting length, but you have 3.5 inches of cutting length. That is crazy great. All right, handle width, you're looking at just under 4.5 inches of handle length. That's just there. And then if you use the choke up position, you got 5.25 inches. I mean, extra large, double extra large, triple extra large hands. You can really grab this knife. I think you'll be very pleased with it. All right, let's look at the blade thickness. It looks like it kind of retained the thin blade, so it's a beautiful slicer. So let's take a look at that. Yeah, so we're at 0.110 or 0.111 inches, or 110 or 111 thousandths of an inch. So you're just barely over 1/10 of an inch. It is a thin, slicey blade for such a large blade. I like that. I like that a lot. Cage ceramic ball bearings. The measurements are really great. Nice action, beautiful drop action. Stayed center, works really nicely. Even with this flat grind right here, I can typically middle finger flick this and both ways, right? So if you like to have an extra deployment method, there you go, you do. Now the only thing about this, it looks like it's not it looks like it's not left-handed carry, but it is. There's 2 screw holes there. This is not inset. It's not inset into the scale. It's laying on top of it. And look, there's a little extra room in the recessed screws. So this will lay right on top of here, and you can reverse it. So it is lefty carryable. It is, you can reverse the clip. So lefties rejoice. That is really nice. I think that's a bonus there, right? All right, EDC. Let's talk about the budget. So is this a knife category? Is this a budget? Is it a regular, high-end, or custom? Well, this is absolutely a budget knife, okay? The budget knife on this one. Let me get the exact price on this one because I actually had that over here and I don't know what I did with it. So sorry, real quick. I don't know what I did. All right, so I'm back. So this is definitely going to be in the budget category. The price of the knife is $69.99, and if you take that after the 10% off, if you go to White Mountain Knives and use my coupon RNK10, you get 10% off. That means this knife will be about a $63 knife. So $63 is certainly less than $100. It's even in metal category, metal complex category of budget knife. I think he's under 75 or something. But this is absolutely a budget knife, even with the new inflation, everything like that. I mean, it's a large knife. A lot of stuff you're getting here. G10 scales and everything. I think they even make a carbon fiber, and they have green versions of those as well. At least at least White Mountain Knives does, and they are in stock right now. So definitely check them out. But I think if you've been waiting for a large version to EDC, this is the thing. This is a budget version is there, and so this is very EDC friendly. Very EDC friendly. The purpose of this knife, absolutely EDC. Is it hard use? Well, I call it semi-hard use. As with any button lock, I reviewed several button locks recently, and I would never use a button lock to chop wood and things like that. It's a plunge lock, and the physics of it, it comes down, engages like that, kind of like a frame lock, except in a frame lock or a frame lock, you can squeeze it and you push that bar into the lock, and it's not going to disengage, right? Unlike a button lock, if you do people like to do these spine test and tap it. A lot of that, if you get enough angle and enough vibration, sooner or later that plunge is going to just bounce and be just enough where that angle is going to push it up. That's going to push up that plunge lock with enough vibration, and it's going to disengage, right? So with any plunge lock, I would say if you're going to be whacking away, I would get something else. I'd get a hammer, I'd get a fixed blade, an axe or a fixed blade. Don't use a plunge lock. But for everyday things like cutting cardboard, letters, envelopes, mulch, fertilizer, dog food, cat food, opening up cases of water with the plastic, this is going to be outstanding. Excuse me. This is going to be outstanding. Absolutely everyday EDC and semi-hard use for sure. I would be glad to use this all day long. Good size. I mean, if I had gloves on working outside, it's a good sized knife as well. Now, can you disengage it over here? To disengage it, let's see how far you have to go. All right, so you have to be pretty flush here. So I guess if you somehow could get your physics to be right there, you could. But for me even as lefty, the only way I could get there would be to do this. And I would really have to be hard pushed to get that knuckle in there. I don't know. It just seems hard to do, but be aware of that. If you're going to choke up on a knife left-handed, just be aware you could maybe disengage the lock. I don't see a way to do it lefty or righty like that. That would be really hard for me to do. So I would feel safe, but something to keep in mind. Ergonomics and feel and design. Yeah, really nice. It's nicely rounded on the G10 scales all the way around. The steel liners are nicely rounded. They're soft. There's no sharp edges, which is really important if you're going to do steel liners, right? Even the blade is beautifully rounded up here, nice and rounded all the way across, so it's not super sharp. Comes out to a beautiful thin tip, you can see that. So it's going to have that pokiness to get into your fertilizer, your mulch, or dog food, cat food, whenever you're opening your boxes, whatever you're opening, letters, envelopes, Christmas gifts, birthday gifts, Amazon boxes, whatever, name it. It'll definitely be able to get in there and work well. It's a full flat grind, comes to a very thin edge. It's a super nice slicey edge blade. I do like that a lot. So the design is great. The thumb studs work great. They're larger thumb studs, but they work on a larger knife like that, and they execute really well. I love the button lock. The button lock executes really well, so that's really nice. and it closes really nicely as well. So that works really nice. The clip works really well, deep carry clip, like I said. On this one, you're gonna have almost complete deep carry. You can barely be able to see it. It's not completely, but it's pretty, it's level with the whole knife. Definitely gonna be very stealthy, keeping it in your pocket, right? Opening and closing is beautiful. It is beautiful. Cade ceramic ball bearings, I love it. For a price of a knife that you can get for, you know, if you pay full price, the $69 or $70, right? And then if you, out of that, you pay the $63, I mean, this knife is beautiful. Now, I do know that you can put Skiff Cade ceramic ball bearings in there. I mean, that does add like 13, 14, 15 bucks. And if you have them, I'm sure this becomes even more beautiful, even more buttery smooth. But for a budget knife, this is fantastic, especially with ARP M9 steel, which is a beautiful powdered steel, a budget powdered steel. Definitely a step, I think, above a 9 MOV CRV or whatever, or the 8, or I think it's probably, I don't know if Nitro V might be a little bit better. I don't know. They're pretty close. Definitely not 14C28N, which is probably your best budget steel out there. But this is, I mean, for what you're getting and the price and the size, I think it's fantastic. I love the stonewash. Definitely going to keep a lot of, you know, hard juice scratches and things to a minimum or barely visible. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the fidget factor out of this. So you got the thumb studs. Both sides work outstanding. You've got the button lock, works outstanding, and then you have that full flat grind, works nicely. Now this is the polished blade. If you were to get like a blade that was, you know, PVD coated or something like that, right now I don't know if White Mountain Knives has that, but I'm sure there's going to be some people with some exclusives at some point, like they did with all the Pyrites. But I can tell you, it still flicks really nicely. Now if you're slippery and oily, that's not going to work as well. But that gives me 3 deployment methods: the button, the thumb studs, and the blade with that nice flat grind. So I like that. That allows me to give it a fidget factor. I'm going to put this at a 7. Definitely above a 6, not quite close to, you know, a C+, but certainly right at a good C-. It's going to give you a 70 for a fidget factor. That means out of 10, which is the best fidget factor possible, this is definitely going to be right there at 7, okay? Now, fidgety goodness, as far as that's concerned, it's a larger knife. So I will tell you, for me personally, the smaller Pyrite had a better fidgety goodness. But I think with people's larger hands, you will find that this will have that equivalent fidgety goodness as I find in my smaller Pyrite, because it'll fit your hand well. You know, I have large hands, and they're large to medium length. So they're short, stubby fingers, meaty fingers, but they're wide like large hands. So I get a nice grip on here, but you know, they're not as long. So sometimes reaching up and, you know, from down to low, it's a little more challenging because my fingers are not quite as long as maybe other people who have large hands. But they're certainly as thick and meaty as other people with large, extra large hands. So yeah, there you go, right? I find the fidgety goodness on this one, I'm gonna give it a good 90, maybe 95. Almost an A+, but I'll give it a 95, a solid A. Because it's a little bit longer, I can't quite get as much enjoyment as I get out of my smaller Pyrite, but I think it's really pretty darn fantastic, and I think you're going to really enjoy it, especially you guys with larger hands. I think this, you're going to be like, oh, I get it now. I get the Pyrite. In this size, I see what you guys were talking about, you guys with the wee little hobbit hands, right? Sorry, I couldn't help that. I mean, I don't know if you guys, you know, I guess I could consider you like the giant ints, right? You know, I'm sorry, Lord of the Ring nerd reference there. So if you're not a nerd and you didn't get that, that's because the nerd meter on me just went, you know, I just broke the scale on the nerd meter there. That's Rob's nerdy knives. Every once in a while, that nerdiness just kind of seeps through, and it did right there. But yeah, definitely, you know, my little hobbit hands compared to your hands are probably, you know, that regular Pyrite's going to feel really good. But this right here, you will be like just enjoying it. I think this would be, you know, if you've been thinking the Pyrite's supposed to be all that and you were a little disappointed, you felt like it was a little small, check this out. I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised. And you know they're going to have all sorts of nice variations of this one as well. They did with the large felspar, the liner lock, frame lock, large felspar. I have an exclusive. I love that knife. And that is a larger knife, about the same size as this. But it does choke up on the scale, make it a little thinner so it makes works a little easier in my hand. But still really nice for larger hands. I think you would enjoy that one too, by the way. And that's a White Mountain Knives exclusive, by the way, and that's an M390. If you wanted something a little more premium, and it does have fat carbon scales. I got the red fat carbon scales on that one. But just telling you, there's options. There's always options out there. But this is really nice. So a fidgety goodness is definitely going to be a good 95, maybe 90 to 95 for sure, right? I think for larger hands, you're going to find this probably be 100%. You're going to love it. So overall, final thoughts, is it recommended? Yeah, absolutely 100%. Absolutely 100%. I like this knife. I think if you wanted a larger pyrite because you felt the other pyrite was too small, but you liked it, or you thought you might have liked it, but it was just too small and that really distracted you, check this out. I think this is going to be your answer. I think you're going to really get a chance to enjoy this knife for what it is and what it can be for you. I enjoy it as it is. Now it's big, and you know, it's not my cup of tea big, but I definitely wanted to check it out because I knew they had a large one, and I thought, man, at that price, this could be a giveaway knife for Rob's Nerdy Knives. And it is. You know, got the 10% off, right? You can get 10% off if you buy it at White Mountain Knives. I definitely recommend you consider doing that. They do have them all in stock, you know, and the black G10 right here, this one is $69.99. Now, the other versions I spoke to you about, some of those are $79.99, so they're going to be a little bit more, but they're about 10 bucks more. It's not terrible. And if the colors are very meaningful to you, you might want those more. But the G10 I really like a lot. I think it's a great deal, and I would definitely consider checking that out. So my thoughts are this is definitely going to be a recommended budget knife. I think you should definitely consider it. So let's take a quick look. Nice close-up here for all you guys if you want to see it. Just see the knife up close. Let's look at those scales. Let's actually zoom in so you can get a little better view. See that nice texturing, really nice texturing on there. Kind of reminds me of Spyderco, and here's the blade, and that is that ARRP M9 steel. Nice stone wash, almost a full flat grind. You can see it's a little, not quite flat grind up to here, it's a little parallel, but that gives you enough room to get that grip to do that middle finger flick. And here you can see the clip. It is a stone wash clip as well. Matches the blade really nicely. Nice T8 hardware, except for the clip, it's T6. And then you get over here, and here's the blade again. You can see that ARP M9. Nice big thumb studs, works really well. I think this knife will work nicely in your hand. So there you go. That is the CJRB Large Pyrite. I think it's definitely a knife worth considering for your collection or as a gift for friends with larger hands. I don't think you would be disappointed with this. Sorry, my paper fell down over there. It's my little list of reviews. My checklist, I kind of try to go through it every time. But there you go. I think it's a cool little knife. Definitely worth considering. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. If you have any questions about this knife or the channel, any future thoughts for Rob's Ramblings, let me know. I do try to read all the comments and do try to reply. So thank you for doing that. I really do enjoy that. That's one of my big parts of this channel that I like a lot, is talking to you guys. I do like to hear your thoughts, so thank you. Hey, if you found this content fun, interesting, worthwhile, entertaining, or informative, would you please consider hitting the like button down below? And if you've hit that like button, would you please consider hitting the subscribe button? Subscribing and liking the channel and the videos really helps out me and the channel a lot. Allows us to grow, produce more content, do more things. And I really appreciate that very, very much. Thank you. If you've done all that, maybe consider hitting your notification button so you can be notified of future content. And hey, if you get a chance, check me out over on Instagram at robs_nerdy_knives. Again, that's on Instagram at robs_nerdy_knives. Thanks so much for watching today. Have a great day and a great week. Bye.